Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Mosky here again with another beer review for you, as is usual. For this one we're going to head back over to the United States and we're going to go to the state of Maryland and visit a brewery that I've actually reviewed for you 3 times before. I believe the last one was the K9 Winter Ale and I really enjoyed that beer, so I'm quite looking forward to doing another one of the seasonal beers for you today. So we're going to revisit the Flying Dog Brewery from Frederick in Maryland, although they were originally based in Colorado, and we'll have a taste of the Woody Creek Belgian style white beer, and I'm not sure if the bottling machine actually kind of lined this up a little bit funny, but you can't really see this part of it here, but I'll leave it like this so you can see that it's a Flying Dog beer anyway. So as is usual with my beer reviews, I'll take you through a brief history of the brewery and tell you a little bit about where the beer comes from, all of that sort of thing. But as I always say, if you are simply just interested in the tasting of this beer, then feel free to go on towards the latter part of the video and you will catch that particular segment, and I'll put the little click box up here for you to move on there as well. And as always, the brewery website is in the video description there, along with the link to my other Flying Dog beer reviews, so check those out if you are interested, and more will be added as time goes on. So the history of this brewery goes back to 1983 when George Stranahan, who is actually an astrophysicist and the founder of the Aspen Centre of Physics, he was on an expedition with 12 others to climb K2, or Savage Mountain as it's known, from Rawalpindi in Pakistan, which is near Islamabad in the north of the country. And this is actually the second highest mountain in the world and also the most deadly. It actually has a 25% fatality rate from people trying to climb it. But during this trip, the group had actually travelled 8,000 miles from Woody Creek in Colorado, and during this trip they actually crossed the Baltoro Glacier and the Braldu Gorge, which has been described as one of the most dangerous paths by many professional mountain climbers. And George Stranahan, of course, though, despite this kind of imminent danger, if you like, he said that the biggest disaster that the trip faced was actually that on day 17 out of 35 the group ran out of booze. But upon returning to the hotel, they actually got stuck into the Pakistani selection of alcohol, and while doing this they actually caught sight of a really beautiful painting of a dog that they said had, quotes, left the ground, and the weirdness of this picture and the words Flying Dog actually stuck with George Stranahan, so this is the origin of the name Flying Dog. But in 1990 George Stranahan actually founded the Flying Dog Brew Pub in Aspen, Colorado, and this was the first brewery in Aspen in over 100 years and one of the first brew pubs in the Rocky Mountain region of the United States. But then it moved on to become a fully fledged brewery in 1994 when his long-term friend Richard McIntyre joined in with the business. But in 2006 Flying Dog actually acquired the Wild Goose brand when they purchased the Frederick Brewing Company in Frederick, Maryland, and the production in Denver at this point actually ceased and it moved to the Maryland site, while the administrative operations did remain in Denver, Colorado. But this brewery had the capacity to brew 100,000 barrels of beer per year, and in December 2010 the Logan Shaw Brewing Company actually purchased the Wild Goose brand from Flying Dog, and they will actually pair the Wild Goose beers with their own craft beer also, so you will be able to see these things in circulation soon if they aren't out already. That's a good few years ago that now actually. But that's your kind of brief history of the Flying Dog Brewery. Of course, as I said, this is a craft brewery I've actually been very impressed with since trying quite a few of their beers from States. We can get these quite easily through Brewdog over here in Scotland, so I really quite enjoy these beers. And this is another one that I actually picked up from Lewis in Thistle News in Aberdeen, so if you're watching from the Aberdeen area of Scotland, go and check out Thistle News on Holborn Street. But just to read out the other beers that you can get from this brewery, actually I'm forgetting that I usually do that before I taste the beer. In their seasonal range they have the Gar Dog, which is the Bier de Gar. They have this guy, the Woody Creek Ale, which is a Belgian style white, as I mentioned before. They have the Dogtoberfest Märzen, which I've reviewed for you already, and they have the K9 Cruiser, which is an American strong ale, and that's their Christmas beer, of course, and I reviewed that one for you at Christmas too. But their regular range includes the Doggy Style Pale Ale, which I've reviewed for you already, the Snake Dog IPA, which is obviously an IPA beer, and that's a really beautiful one. I want to find the bottle of that and review it for you at a later date. They also have the Road Dog Scottish Porter, which is a Scotch ale apparently. They have the Tire Bite Golden Ale, the Old Scratch Lager Amber Beer, and this one apparently is a steam beer. They have the In Heat, which is a Hefeweizen or Weissbier, however you want to say it. They have the Gonzo Imperial Porter, obviously an Imperial Porter, and they have the Horn Dog Barley Wine Style Ale, which is an English barley wine, and also the Double Dog Pale Ale. And I'm sure I've also seen an Oyster Stout from these guys as well, but I really couldn't tell you in honesty whether that's true or not, but they do quite a range of beers anyway. Like I said, go and check out their website and you will be able to see the whole list of these things. But let's just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at this guy again. This guy is a 4.8% Belgian style wheat beer. It uses Pearl and checked Sax hops with unmalted wheat, malted white wheat, flaked oats and torrefied wheat in the malt profile. It uses El Diablo yeast, and the twist with this guy is that it's brewed with coriander and orange peel. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of Blue Moon, but it's obviously quite a bit better than that, I would say. But as you can see, there's the nice kind of artwork on that. I'll just put the light down. I think the light's hitting it quite a bit. I'll just bring that down so you can see it a little bit better. I'm not sure what that's meant to be. It actually looks like it's a tavern kind of exploding with a lot of eyes coming out of it. Actually, all the dogs on the artwork of the flying dog things have these kind of eyes. And it looks as if the dogs have been blown up in a tavern that's just gone crazy. There you can see the sort of top part, you can see the title side of the label, of course, and it says, it's quite proudly saying, made in USA, pregnant women don't drink this, all the usual jargon there. You can see there's the top label, and the bottle cap for these beers is all the same. It's always this kind of silver one with the kind of flying dog crest on it. But let's get this guy out and get on with the tasting here. As I mentioned, it's a 4.8% Belgian style wheat beer, Pearl and check Sax hops, unmalted wheat, malted white wheat, flaked oats and torrefied wheat in the malt profile, El Diablo yeast, and it's also got a twist of coriander and orange peel. So let's get this guy open. As you can see, a nice smoky opening there as we get it out, but let's just pour this guy into the glass and see how we get on here. No real aromas coming off of it so far just from pouring it. Some beers you actually do get quite a bit of an aroma when you pour it, but this guy doesn't really seem to be giving much off just on the pour there actually. But I just got, actually now that I've said that, which is typical, I've just got a little kind of whiff of the sort of Belgian-y style yeasty things. So yeah, I can smell just a little bit of that. As you can see, when I bring it up to the light here, I'll just bring the light up again and let you get a better idea of what kind of colour this beer is. It's actually a very, very bright yellow beer. It's not showing up on the camera when I'm looking at it there so well, but it's a very, very kind of bright yellow beer. As you could see, it had a finger of kind of white, it had a finger or so of white frothy head there. There is just a little bit of carbonation going up there. If I put my fingers behind that, as you can see, it's opaque. You can't really see anything through it at all. It's not transparent in any way, but there was a little bit of sedimentation came out of the bottle there, so it should have quite a nice little chewy bit of yeast to it, I would say. In terms of the aroma of this guy, just give it a little shuggle. You're getting quite a bit of the citrus in there, which is what you expect from the sort of Belgian style white beers, of course. Very, very yeasty. Very, very yeasty. Very, very orangey, citrusy. Not really a lemon citrus at all to this guy, but that's what you would expect when it's got the orange peel in it. But very yeasty and very orangey. You can pick up just a little hint of the spice character that you'll get from the coriander in there too. But you have to kind of breathe it in quite deeply to do that. It actually reminds me a lot of the 6 Degrees North beer that we get in Scotland, this guy. I should say that actually, because if you can link the smells between beers, it's always quite a good thing. But this guy, the smell of this one actually reminds me of the 6 Degrees North beer that we get in Aberdeen. But yeah, it smells like your typical sort of kind of American style craft white Belgian beer sort of thing. It does smell like that. The Belgian beers obviously have their own unique smell, but this is a Belgian style one, and the sort of foreign kind of copies of this beer, if you like, do have their own kind of difference in aroma, and it really does have that kind of smell to it as well. But yeah, it's got that nice kind of big bready yeasty nose to it with a lot of kind of orangey citric notes on it there. Maybe even a little hint, just a little tiny hint of grassy character as well, but very big, very bready, a little bit of spice character when you smell it in a bit deeper, but a very, very kind of sweet amount of citrus there. But without further ado, let's give it a taste and see how we get on there. As you can see, the head on it is kind of faded now. But yeah, again, it has that taste of the sort of American kind of style copy of these Belgian beers, if you like. It tastes like an American craft Belgian style beer. It's an odd thing to say, but it does have that kind of very typical sort of collective taste to it, if you can say that. But yeah, a lot of kind of sweet sweet kind of doughy, yeasty character on the front there. There is a good little bit of the spice just mixed in, but it's subtle enough that it mixes well. It's not too kind of forward on the spice character. The spice character, I would say, is actually kind of complemented quite well by the carbonation in this guy. They've got the carbonation kind of spot on, just to help bring that out a little bit actually. But yeah, like I say, a very kind of big, doughy, yeasty, bready flavour in the opening. Just a little bit of coriander that blends very, very well with it. And it's just a little bit fruity on the finish. It's not very, very sharp in terms of the citrus flavour. They come in, the orange kind of citrus just comes in and sits there on top of the really underlying kind of spicy, yeasty character. And this one is actually one of the best sort of blends of flavours that I've had in this kind of wheat style, Belgian style wheat beer. Actually, this one is very, very well balanced in terms of its flavour. They kind of have all the components just right here, I think. But yeah, the sort of orangey character, I would say, in this guy is coming out on the finish. It feels a little bit more wet in the finish, and that brings out the sort of orangey citric flavours, but you have this constant underlying, although it does fade a little bit as you get toward the end of the beer. You have this constant underlying of the nice sort of bready and yeasty, spicy character that you expect from these American Belgian style craft beers. It has that, and it's really nice. Like I say, this guy, the sort of blend of flavours that they have here works very, very well together. It's not too sort of forward on the citrus or forward on the coriander. It just has it nicely blended in that way. Some people will admittedly like the citrus to be a bit more prominent, or the spice to be a little bit more prominent. Beer is always subjective, but my personal opinion of this guy is that it has the things all blended nicely together, and it works really well for this beer in my opinion. But yeah, the spice character, like I say, is kind of, it does come in and just has a little bit of sharpness to it, and then it just fades out, and then the orange comes in and just sits on top of it. And then you've got a nice sort of spicy and orangey feel to the mouth, to the taste buds after that. It's really, really nice actually. As I say, very, very well blended. In terms of the mouthfeel of this guy, I would say it's definitely on the lighter side of mid-bodied. It's a very, very drinkable beer. There's no doubt about that. It has just a little bit of oily character to it. The carbonation is quite light on it, but it complements the spice character well. It actually just has a little tiny bit of a prickle on the opening as you just take the beer in, and that helps bring out the spice character in the opening of the beer. But then it stays with it kind of helps that you tune your mouth to it, if you like. It's, as I said, it stays with you into the aftertaste with this one, and it's like I say, it's quite a wet mouth feel as well. It's quite a drinkable one. This one maybe isn't more of a, it's maybe not such a sessionable beer. In fact, this is one that I would kind of want if I had some of the nice sort of hedgehog bread that we get here in Scotland. It's just the sort of, you know, the I don't know if you get it in America, but they just do this massive big bread and you just sit and cut it and put butter on it. This is the sort of beer you would actually want to go with that. It actually goes really, really nicely, but it would go nicely actually with the sort of German style food as well, you know, with pork and things like that probably too. It would give you a nice little different thing to go with it, although sometimes you want a dark beer to go with that, admittedly. But I think this is a very, very nice beer. It's quite crisp actually as well, I should say that. It is, if it's the summer seasonal rather than the spring seasonal, I can see it fitting in quite well in that way, because it does have a little bit of crispness to it, and just with that slightly oily mouthfeel. As I say, it's very, very well done, and I think they've got the flavours very well balanced in this one. So if you like your sort of American take on the sort of Belgian style white beers, give this guy a go and see what you think. But yeah, I hope you found this beer review informative. I've enjoyed doing another beer review for you from the Flying Dog Brewery. This time, as I mentioned, the Woody Creek Belgian style white wheat beer. And yeah, this has been a really nice one to do for you. I recommend you try it if you do like this style of beer. I think this is a very, very well balanced one in terms of flavour. But I hope you've enjoyed my beer review. I'll be back soon with more ones. I will review more Flying Dog beers for you in the future as they come in. Hopefully I can get a whole collection of these guys. But as I say, subscribe subscribe to the channel if you want to see those, and please comment in the section below if you have tried this beer yourself. Always interesting to hear your own thoughts. But yeah, like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I'll be back soon with another beer review, and thanks for watching this one. Cheers.